Osadniks were veterans of the Polish army and civilians who were given a sold state land in the Kresy territory ceded to Poland by Polish-Soviet Riga Peace Treaty of 1921. The term is a Polish word, also a loanword used in Soviet Union history. Settlement process. Shortly before the Battle of Warsaw on August 7, 1920, the Premier of Poland, Wincenty Witos, announced that after the war volunteers and soldiers who served on the front would have priority in purchase of state-owned land, while the soldiers to receive medals for bravery would receive land free of charge. The announcement was one of the means to repair the Polish morale, shaken after the retreat from the east. On December 17, the Sejm passed the Act on Nationalization of Northeastern Powiats of the Republic, an act on granting the soldiers of the Polish army with land. Both of these acts allowed the demobilized soldiers to apply for land parcels. The Acts of Parliament applied for powiats of Grodno and Wolozin of Białystok Voivodeship, as well as 20 other powiats in the eastern voivodeships of Poland. In the spring of 1921, the first groups of settlers arrived to newly established settlements in Wolin, which according to Polish historian Lydia Glowacka, were located in what formerly constituted the property of major landowners, the Russian treasury and the Tsar's family. Some secularized monasteries are lands abandoned by the Russian nobility retreating from the area before the German arrival in 1915. Some land was also purchased by the state from Polish nobility. A typical plot of land had the area of under 20 hectares, though soldiers with a university diploma could in theory receive up to 45 hectares free of charge to create the so-called exemplary farms. In reality, however, there were more applicants than free land, and even the recipients of the Virtuti Militari medal had to pay for their plots. Although the government promised help to the settlers, in fact most of them received little but the land itself. At times the regiments in which the soldiers served provided them with forage and demobilized horses. The cost of the land itself was to be repaid by the settlers 5 years after the start of the program, with the yearly rent set at between 30 and 100 kilograms of rye per hectare. Permanent economical difficulties of the newly re-established state, as well as strong opposition to the idea of creation of soldier settlements so long the eastern border of Poland, made the action to be halted in 1923. The action was equally opposed by local major landowners and peasantry. The earlier feared that their own property might also be nationalized and distributed among the settlers, while the latter group was enraged by the fact that the redistributed land had often been rented to them by the previous owners. The deals were made null and void by the Russian state's disappearance and the nationalization. By 1923, out of 99,153 applicants, only 7,345 actually received the parcels. Out of hundreds of planned villages in the Wolin voivodeship, only 3 were ever actually created, with 51 inhabitants altogether. The pace of the action was equally slow in other parts of the area. Altogether, the land granted to the demobilized soldiers amounted to 1,331.46 square kilometers. Out of 8,732 plots of land allotted to demobilized soldiers, only 5,557 have actually been settled by January 1, 1923. Some state-owned land parcels were also sold to civilians, establishing civilian mixed settlements. Although after the May coup d'état of 1926 the action was restarted, it never gained significant momentum and came to a complete halt between 1929 and 1933. Altogether, the Osadnik families received over 6,000 square kilometers of land. The government tried to revive the project once more after 1935, with little success. Because of the Great Depression, the prices of basic food products dropped and all the settler farms were in the red, with the average debt reaching 458 zloty per every hectare of land. Most of the military and civilian settlers were members of the Settlers' Union. The organization, founded as early as March 1922, promoted self-organization of Osadnik communities, provided them with cheap credits, scholarships at various universities of agriculture, and founded a number of schools. Soviet repression. After the 1939 Soviet invasion of Poland, some Belarus communists murdered a number of Osadniks, e.g., in Tricharki, Bydauła and Leropol of the Grodno County. After the incorporation of Kresy into the Soviet Union, the term Osadnik became one of the categories of crimes in a Soviet penal system. Initially branded as kulaks, from the very first days became a target of Soviet propaganda as enemies of the people. The property was often taken by the new authorities in violation of Soviet law, and there were numerous cases of government-inspired violence against the Osadniks. This led approximately 10% of the settlers to abandon their homes and escape through the so-called border of peace to German-held general government. Since late 1939, Osadniks were being deported en masse to northern European Russia, Ural and Siberia according to the Sovnarkom decree about special settlement and labor engagement of Osadniks deported from western areas of USSR and BSSR of December 29, 1939. It was broadened to include all formerly Polish citizens who purchased any land after 1918, be them real settlers from other parts of Poland or local peasants who bought land in neighboring villages. Estimated 140,000 Osadniks were deported on February 10, 1940, be they real or alleged Osadniks. The majority of them were of Polish nationality. Also about 10,000 Ukrainians, 11,000 Belarusians, and about 2,000 others. In Gulag paperwork, Osadniks were in a separate category of deportees, special settlers, Osadniks and foresters. After that, 3 more waves of Polish deportations were carried out, classified with different categories. The largest deported Polish population was in Archangельsk Oblast, e.g., the whole Polish labor camps existed in the Kotlas area. High mortality of deported was reported, for example, by July 1, 1941, over 10,000 Osadniks were officially reported dead. It is to be noted that the original settlers formed a much smaller group than those who were labeled as Osadniks by the Soviet authorities.